Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Clutch and Crown. There are certain names in motorsport that act like a spell. You just have to say them to conjure images of dust, sweat, and absolute glory. The name McRae is surely one of them. And to many of us, it's a synonym of bravery, grit, and pure rally magic. But today, we're not looking back at legends. We're looking at what comes next, at the courage it takes to honor a legacy and still choose your own direction. My guest today is a woman who didn't rush to the start line. She chose it on her own terms. A young entrepreneur, media creator, and soon a rally co-driver, Hollie McRae. Holly, welcome to Clutch and Crown. I am so thrilled to have you here and to get to chat with you again. To all the people wondering what happened with the previous recording, seeing the bits from Rally Poland, the technical issues were a bit over the top. So now we hope everything will be fine. Welcome.
We'll keep our fingers crossed that round two
Yeah.
is a little more smooth than the first. But a pleasure to be talking to you again.
To you too. I'd like to start with something that many people who follow your journey are surely curious about and wondering, because you obviously grew with a name that is an icon. And yet, for a long time, you stayed away from that world, which you admitted in many episodes. How do you feel this impacted you once you're already in the rallying?
Yeah, it's been a sort of funny journey to bring me to where I am now. As you say, I've got a surname that is synonymous with rallying. I grew up with not only my dad rallying, but my grandpa, my uncle Alistair. I don't actually have many memories myself of my dad rallying, but I obviously knew how important that was to him, his career, and I have lots of memories of my grandpa Jimmy rallying throughout my childhood. And I think for a while that sort of legacy and reputation around the McRae name in the sport put me off because I wasn't really too interested in motorsport from a young age, certainly not like the driving. I've always been quite a cautious person, and I feel as though I just never quite had the go to be really performing, whether it was on bikes, quad bikes, whatever it might be. So from a young age, I was under no illusions that I would ever be the next World Rally Champion. And I think because of that, it just put me off entirely. I thought, well, if I'm not going to live up to the name, there's no point in even trying. I'll do something totally different. And that is sort of how I lived most of my life. I went to university, studied education, became a school teacher, and really had nothing to do with motorsport for years. And it's only been in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been brought back to the sport that every other member of my family loves so much. And I've been able to access it through media work, through social media, interviewing, presenting. And it definitely fits me and my sort of personality and my hobbies far more than the driving itself. And it's now nice to be accessing the same sport that everybody else loves, but in a way that suits me.
Did you ever feel that sort of pressure or any expectations that you were about to go a different path?
Not really. I feel like there's never really been any pressure in our family surrounding motorsport. I feel as though my dad and my uncle Alistair started rallying because they saw how much my grandpa loved it, and they were young when my grandpa started rallying. So they sort of went on the journey with him and would go to different tests and events, and they both just got the bug from the very start. And I never felt any sort of pressure to follow in their footsteps. I think it was my 13th or 14th birthday. My grandpa showed up to our house with a 1980s looking Nissan Micra, which had been boshed together with about 50 other Nissan Micras. And we went out in the field and just sort of had a little bit of a drive around in this car And I think he was probably expecting something really special to happen on that day. And
Mm.
all of a sudden, he would have unlocked this passion within me, and the next generation of McRae's would continue. But unfortunately, that didn't really happen.
It just needed some time, you know. The bug
Yeah,
eventually came to you in
I
the
just
end, but it just needed some
have
time.
the confidence to make the car do what it should
Yeah.
have done. And I think we maybe spent about an hour, hour and a half driving around the field. And I was like, okay, Gramps, I've got drama class. Bye. I don't think the car was ever touched again. So I was definitely a late bloomer coming into the
Yeah.
sport. But I am quite
But
stuck.
here you are now, and you're blooming right now.
Yeah, it came about it a different way. Nothing's ever too
Yeah.
straightforward.
But before your path crossed with motorsport again, you chose a completely different direction and you were a primary school teacher. And that's a fascinating contrast. Do you feel that there are any skills you acquired while working with children that paradoxically help you today in this dynamic and chaotic world?
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's some crossovers, and I think at the end of the day, the two careers that I've sort of worked in so far in my life, I have both really, really loved them because they align with who I am as a person. And there definitely is some crossovers there. I'd say when I was teaching, like you need to be a very sort of structured, organized person,
Mm.
and that carries through into motorsport. I think having the sort of discipline to do your research, to know the drivers that you're going to be speaking to have a
Mm-hmm.
plan to follow. And we all know how quickly things change in motorsport. Often the plan doesn't actually pan out perfectly. But if you have a plan to start with, I feel as though it makes you more relaxed and more able to sort of go with the flow when things don't go well. And that very much aligns with what happens in a primary school class as well, because you can get
The
in there,
kids are also chaos.
literally, you can get in there with a full plan of your day and all of your worksheets ready, all of your activities, and one kid has a bad day, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, think on your feet. And I'd say there are probably some parallels between primary school children and rally drivers.
But there's a way to balance it all, and I feel like being organized helps you keep it all in place.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that I am quite a sort of spontaneous person in the sense that like I love to travel, I love to explore, I love to
Mm-hmm.
go out somewhere with no plan and just see what happens. But I feel like in order to fully be able to make the most of a situation like that, you do need to be sort of structured and organized and know what the limits are, I suppose. I feel like people often think that those two things don't go hand in hand, like the sort of
Yeah.
organization and free spiritedness, that they don't really see that as something that gels well. Whereas, without blowing my own trumpet, I do like to think that I'm the sort of mesh of both of those personality traits that come together.
It's all about balance, honestly. Did you at any time have a moment where the rallying was so chaotic, like nothing went with plan and it was just so crazy, there wasn't even space for organization?
Do you know what? The most like chaotic experience I've had on a rally so far was actually the first day of Rally Poland. So the day after we
Oh,
spoke, um, I was doing the qualifying stage stop line for the first time. And so I was a little bit nervous about those new first experiences that I hadn't done before. We had Charlotte along as the second stage end reporter, and it was her first time on the job. So
oh.
I then got promoted to the most experienced of the stage end reporters, even although it was like my fourth event.
And you
So
weren't ready for that at that moment.
I'd
Like you
say
didn't expect it, or
no, I'd been given the heads up prior that Peter,
okay.
who would normally be the person that I would go to for advice and whatnot, wasn't going to be at Rally
Yeah,
Poland.
yeah, yeah.
So I got sort of put into Peter's shoes, and then Charlotte stepped into mine. So I was sort of giving her the lowdown on all of the drivers, on what to expect, on how the rally operates. And they'd asked that I take Charlotte along with me to the qualifying stage stop line just to sort of show her what it's like, show her the setup. So I was like, yeah, absolutely, no worries. So we had our production meeting on the Friday morning. went a little wander around the service park, and then we were heading out to the qualifying stage. And
Hmm.
that morning, I had got the pin for the stop line, put it into my phone, changed the route so that it went around the stage so that we wouldn't get stuck anywhere, and closed my phone off, didn't think anything of it. And then when I got into the car to leave, opened it up, the pin was there. I was like, right, go, let's get on the way. And I think the phone must have like reset while I'd switched it off. So instead of taking me around the stage, the Google Maps tried to take me through the stage to
Oh
get
my
to the
God.
stop line. So we got there and we were getting closer and closer. And I was like, there's a lot of spectators parked around here. This is odd. Why would there be so many spectators coming to the stop line? And then we were just sort of like driving up, driving past, and there was just more and more cars parked on either side of the road. And then I just saw the tape and I was like, no. I was like, we have not driven.
And there was like three, two, one, go.
Honestly. And at this point, we were already cutting it a little bit fine. We maybe had about 10 minutes to get there and get set up before the first car was due. And I was like, oh God, this is awful. It's the first time that anything like that had happened to me before. And I knew that it would be quite a while to sort of double back on ourselves to come round the right way. And I was just panicking. I was like, oh dear. But we sort of rerouted it and managed to make up a bit of time. And luckily, not for the driver, but from our point of view, one of the drivers on free practice had had an incident, so they had to hold the stage for a little while until he got brought out to the end of the stage. So that held things up a little bit from the organisation end, and we did get there about 5 minutes before things had to get started. But
Yeah,
that was one of those
luckily.
moments I was like, Holly, come on. And I was sat there with Charlotte. I was like, this isn't normally how we should do this.
Don't
do,
worry, it's gonna,
do
it's
not
not
learn from
like
my
every day it looks like that.
yeah. I was like, do not learn from my actions here, learn from my mistakes. But yeah,
But
things
you
like
know, it's
that
a good
happen.
experience for the first time for her because once you get through that, you're basically prepared for everything from now on.
Exactly. And I now am very certain that whenever I need to be at a point on a stage, I will double
Yeah,
check that the Google Maps is taking me the right way. But yeah, it's all just going with the flow, think on your feet, don't let anything get you down too much, and just
that's true.
see what happens.
True. But beside these chaotic moments, there must have been a sort of a spark, a moment that made you think, okay, this is my time to enter the rallying world and I want to try this on my own terms. What was your clutch moment, as I call it, since it's the name of the podcast? What was that turning point for you that guided you back to the rally stages?
I'd say so throughout my time at university, I did little bits of work here and there within the social media realm, but at that point it was nothing to do with rallying. I went to the University of Aberdeen and I did a lot of social media work for them while I was there. I took on sort of little jobs here and there as I could. And the person that really sort of changed that for me and brought me back towards motorsport is a man called Carlo Baroli. And he has a business called Best Impreza. And he came to our family. It would have been maybe 2022, I think, or maybe 21 actually, when he initially had the idea. He came to our family and he said, right, I've done what I want to do in business in my life. I have made the money that I need to make, and now is the time that I want to invest that money into like passion projects. And
Mm-hmm.
he was a huge Colin McRae fan, obsessed with the Subaru Impreza 555. And he came to us and said, can I manufacture continuation Subaru cars from scratch and have one to commemorate each of Colin's victories in that car? So he was going to build a series of cars, 8 in total. And he said, I don't want to do it without the family's grace on the project.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, yeah, absolutely. That sounds like such a cool project. Absolutely go for it. And then maybe about 3 or 4 months later, he came back and said, I need someone to help me with the website and
Hmm.
translating the information from Italian into English. I want to make sure it reads properly. If there are any family photos that you have that you think might work on the website and all of this sort of stuff.
Wait, do you
Well,
actually speak Italian?
no, no, no. He translated from Italian to English and I just read
Oh,
over it to
okay.
make sure it made sense. Gave him a little hand doing the website stuff and then he was like, right, now we need to do social media. How do we make the social media work? And I then just started helping him out there as and when I could. I started traveling and did that on the side just to make a little bit of money as I was traveling. And that was my first social media role within motorsport. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. So I say it quite often to other people and to Carlo himself that he is the reason that I am where I am now because I could have been back in a primary school for all I know.
Hope Carlo watches this episode
I
and
know.
he
Shout
will
out to
hear
Carlo.
the appreciation.
Absolutely.
And your return was spectacular because you didn't just quietly enter this world, but you founded your own company, McRae Media. And that, I think, takes courage to, take your path into your own hands and direct it without other people, because at the first moment you start on your own. And what was your hardest part of taking this step as an entrepreneur?
I think the most difficult part is like believing that you can actually make it work. And I'm still at the point right now as a sort of very early business owner and someone that's very new on the scene that you don't necessarily, well, with any sort of business owner, you don't really know that you've got a steady stream of income coming in all of the time. And I think when I made that decision, when I came back to the UK and I'd done little bits of socials work for Max, my cousin, I then disappeared off again, went traveling, and I thought when I come back home, I will see how things are. If things are still ticking over, maybe I pick it back up. If not, I'll go back to teaching. And after a couple of months of me being in Japan, it was still gaining views, still getting that sort of just interest in what I was doing with McRae Media. And it was at that point that I got asked to report on the British Rally Championship. And I was like, okay, maybe this actually could be something that is more than just a hobby or a side hustle or whatever else you would want to call it. And I think at that point, sort of taking the plunge to be like, okay, let's go full time, put all of my time, money, effort into it and see what happens. That's quite scary because nothing's ever guaranteed. You don't know how things
Yeah.
are going to go down, and social media is always changing. You never know what the next thing is going to be and if you can keep up. But I knew by that point that it was something that I really wanted to give a go. And I was like, do you know what? Teaching will always be there. I can always go back to that if and when the time comes. But while things seem to be working quite nicely right now in the motorsport sphere, why not just follow it? So I think it is just that sort of courage to take the plunge and
Yeah.
hope that it works out.
And the belief in yourself and your actions that what you're doing is done the right way. Also, I feel like this world was calling you a bit if it was coming back right after another. It sort of told you that maybe that's the path you should choose and take the plunge, as you said.
Yeah, definitely. Once I got involved back in the sport, I was pretty hooked from the start. And I knew that I just wanted to go to the next rally and the next event and meet more people. And I think at the start, what I loved the most was every rally that I went to, I was meeting people that knew my dad, that had worked with him, that had stories about him that maybe I hadn't heard
Mm-hmm.
before. And it felt like this little voyage of discovery and putting the jigsaw together with all of these little stories and pieces from other people. And it felt really special because I thought if I didn't keep doing that, I might not meet these people otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sort of building a career and a life for myself in the sport while learning so much about my dad and what he did. And that felt really special. So I feel like that at the start definitely kept drawing me back to go to more rallies and go to more events. And it's not long until you catch the bug in motorsport. I feel
Yeah.
like it's a special sport in the sense that just all of your senses are on like high alert at all times. The sights, the smells, the sounds, it's all so special. So I kept coming back, and hopefully I will keep coming back for many years to come.
Yeah. Once you're into it already, it's not a long way to actually be full time there. But once you spoke about other people telling you stories about your dad, about rallying, about knowing your family, you took it and somehow now you are pouring this to all the other people in the social media. You are telling the stories from the very heart of rallying. So what are your plans for the company? Are there any specific projects or plans that you would like to bring to life? You've been to Go Festival, and I feel like there is so much excitement around that event. To me, it's a dream come true to have the pass there. So how was it for you? Tell us about it, about your plans.
Yeah, no, it's been great right now, like with Goodwood, and even before that, my experience over in Barbados at Rally Barbados, and then I went over for a couple of days at Donegal Rally, and all of these
Mhm.
different events have been great for me to experience, but also from McRae Media at a more sort of like numbers level. Like my reels were all performing really well from those events, and I was gaining followers and gaining engagement like I had never had before. And I think that really sort of hooks you when you get a sort of taste of things doing really well. You're like, okay, this is really, really fun.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm noticing now is that people engage more with my content when it is about my personal experience of an
Mm-hmm.
event, which is something that feels quite nice because for the first year or so of McRae Media, I was very much telling other people's stories, whether it was creating content for Max, for Hayden Padden, for different events that I would go to. I would try and adopt the event's voice rather than sharing it from my own point of view.
Yeah.
And while that did really well in those early days, as I've sort of progressed and I'm experimenting with different content and doing different things, I'm noticing now that people engage far more with content that comes from me and that are sharing my personal experience of a rally, an event, whatever it might be. And that feels really encouraging because obviously no one can tell your story better than you can.
Yeah.
And the fact that people want to know my perspective on things feels really nice because it's no secret that I'm pretty new to the sport still. I don't have this wealth of knowledge that someone like Bex Williams has, for example. Like she's been around the sport for years and has such personal connections with all the drivers. She knows them all so well. I don't have that, so I can't really tell the story from their point of view. But what I do have is my own experience, my own opinions, and the fact that those more personal videos are going down really well right now
Yeah.
is really great. So, Goodwood, I went to with no sort of plan. I didn't plan on making any piece of content in particular, primarily because I didn't really know what I was going to be doing at Goodwood, whether it was going to be stuff for Goodwood itself or if I would get to drive in a rally car or not. It was all just up in the air. So we just went for a bit of fun as a family and just sort of see what happens. And it was such an incredible couple days. I got so many great opportunities to sit in my dad's rally car, in the ARA Subaru with Travis Pastrana, and all of these things I managed to just like get little clips of here and there and turn them into
Yeah.
reels, and they've all performed so well, which really is just the cherry on top of the cake.
Yeah, and that's also what you say when you notice that people are enjoying more of your content when you're showing your true self and your emotions connected with that world. It's the authenticity that people strive and they look for in the world where everything is planned, when the PR is thriving and people are telling other people what to say, we now value more something that is maybe imperfect or more emotional, but
Yeah.
it's still 100% you.
Yeah, no, it's something that's really special. I feel as though we're all very aware that the sort of bottom line of being human is connection to other people and community, and the people that you have around you are what build your life experiences.
Yeah.
But with social media coming in, it's still like relatively new. Everyone's sort of trying to figure out what performs best and
Yeah.
how to get the most views, the most followers. And I think a lot of social media encourages you to try and like be something that you're not, or to follow trends, or
Mm-hmm.
to try and copy what someone else is doing. Whereas getting that sort of reinforcement that no, actually, your personal experience is enough. It reminds you that it is people behind these accounts. Like, it's easy to get lost in the sort of numbers game of everything and just focus on the wrong side of what social media is, when in actual fact it is just an online community, and
Yeah.
it is people on the end of every account, every phone, and it is the personal experiences that really appeal to them most.
And it's not about numbers and statistics, it's about stories that people can reflect on.
Yeah.
But your work has eventually led you to a co-driver's seat, and even recently during the Goodwood Festival, you've had the chance to do some spins in the car your dad used to drive. Not only that, but you've done it with your significant other, who's a rally driver, John Armstrong. How did that feel to you?
It was such a cool opportunity. I've been lucky enough to sit in L555 Bat a couple of times now. I think I've sat in the car with Max and Alistair both at Knockhill Circuit in Scotland, and I'm sure I've sat in it with my grandpa as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd never been in the car at Goodwood, and I've also never until that moment been in a rally car with John either. So that was the first time that the two of us were in a rally car at the same time, and it was my dad's championship winning one, which was so special.
Yeah.
And that was something that the whole weekend at Goodwood, it was happening, then it wasn't, then it was happening again, then it wasn't. And it wasn't until the Sunday morning that it was all confirmed. And they were like, right, okay, it's happening. Go and get yourself signed on, get a hill passenger wristband. And I think there'd been a couple of changes with sort of carrying passengers in rally cars at Goodwood. I was there 2 years ago and there was never any issue about taking passengers up the hill, but I think they've sort of tightened their security on it this year. So some people were telling me that, oh no, it's absolutely fine. You'll be able to go in the car, no problem. And other people were like, no, you can't go in a rally car. That's not happening. So I was just sat there waiting to get told what was happening. But I think because it was being filmed for the TV program, they got it all signed off by the right people. But it was, yeah, on and off, on and off. And then very last minute, they were like, okay, no, it's happening. Go. Who's actually driving the car on that route? And I was like, I think John's name's down to do that one. And they were like, even better. Brilliant. Go. Because Alistair had been doing some of the runs, Max had been doing some of the runs.
Mm-hmm.
My grandpa, I think he was wanting to do one, but he just kept getting pushed out the way. So it was just totally by chance that the run that ended up working was in with John, which was really special.
It must have been very emotional for you as well.
Yeah.
And seeing all the videos, it makes your heart warm to see the comparison from the past and from the current state. It was really moving. But how does the dynamic of being the couple in the rallying world, how does it work for you to combine work and passion and romantic interest?
It's funny because it's only in the last couple of weeks, really, that people have known publicly about John and I being together. But in actual fact, we've been together for months and just sort of kept it on the down low. I think because obviously we work in very similar circles, at the start, we didn't want to make things public before we really knew one another too well, because there'd be nothing worse than sort of everyone knowing, and then a month or two down the line being like, actually, we're not that
Yeah,
similar
of
people. This
course.
isn't going to work. And then there's just this weird sort of atmosphere around it. So even since the end of last ERC season, John and I have been dating or together in like some sort of capacity.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to sort of keep it to ourselves until we were pretty certain that it felt right. John actually spent Christmas and New Year with my family, and
Oh.
nothing got posted on social media about it. My mum tried. My mum tried to post pictures on social
She
media. I was like,
wanted to be the one to make it official.
and I think I can't remember when it would have been, but she posted a picture from like a dinner out one night, and John was in it, and I was like, Alison, get that deleted right now. Because obviously there'd be no hiding that it would be a talking point and that people
Yeah.
would have things to say about it. And from my point of view, when I knew that I was coming back to do some stage end stuff with the ERC promoter, I wanted to get at least the first rally out of the way without any extra eyes being on us, because prior to Rally Hungary this season, the last I had worked with the promoter was in Rome last year. So it was about 7 or 8 months between my two jobs with the promoter. So already coming into Hungary, I was quite nervous about getting
Yeah.
back into that role and doing the right thing and sort of getting back into a rhythm with it all. And I just knew that if I had that pressure combined with people's eyes being on us even more when it was John that rolled up to the stop control, and oh, is she going to interview him any differently to how she
Yeah.
speaks to the other drivers? Oh, let's see if like he winks at her or something. So we decided to sort of keep it to ourselves for a while until this season was really underway. And yeah, it was after Rally Poland we decided that we'd sort of done our bit. Everyone sort of knows where they stand now, and so we call it our coming out. So we came out to the ERC gang after Rally Poland, and just since then have been posting a little bit more freely about the time that we spend with each other. Obviously, with Goodwood coming up, I knew that John was going to come with our family to Goodwood. So if we hadn't have put it out in the open by then, everyone would have probably guessed. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But it
it's
was
been a long
really
time coming.
reasonable and thoughtful of you to actually announce it to the ERC family, because, as you say, the pressure from outside can be very much overwhelming, and it's good to have it like announced with more peaceful atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, one of the highlights of my year so far, I think, was Peter Mackay's face when he found out. Like, that man has told me for the last year how much him and his wife and his mum all absolutely love John Armstrong and how good is John. And I've been sat there the whole time, like, yeah, he's a really good
Really?
driver. So when we shared the news with Pete, his face was an absolute picture. And it's really fun now. Like, he would send me stuff on the Royal Rally of Scandinavia. I wasn't there because I was in Barbados working on a rally over there, but he was sending me updates about John, and he was like, your boys absolutely smashed that run. And it's really nice that he's like on our sides. He's like our biggest cheerleader.
It's so lovely to hear that. And during this September coming up, during the McRae Rally Challenge, you will make a debut as your grandfather's Jimmy's co-driver. The moment the double McRae name will appear on the side window must be incredibly symbolic for you and for your entire family. Do you think like the previous experiences gave you a gist of how it might look like, or do you still feel like there's some preparation needed?
Oh, there's so much preparation needed. I am I'm no stranger to the sort of feeling of being inside a rally car,
Mm-hmm.
and I totally love it. Like being sort of at speed in a rally car, getting rattled around, I really, really enjoy the sensation of it. So that's something that I feel really comfortable with. But the entire job of co-driving and everything that it comes with, I have zero experience of. So that's definitely going to be where the challenge comes. And I've said to my grandpa, when he asked me to co-drive for him, I was like, yeah, absolutely, that would be so much fun. But you are going to have to tell me everything that I need to do because I have no idea what it really entails. I said, you
Mm.
need to send me to the Jimmy McRae co-driving school. And he was like, yeah, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. Nothing has been said since. I'm just hoping that people keep me on the right track. I feel like when it comes to the day of the event, we should be okay. But anything that needs done in the preparation and the lead up, I'm totally oblivious. So the beauty of it is my grandpa has driven at Knockhill so many
Mm-hmm.
times. He knows that place inside out, and he is such a naturally talented driver that I don't really think that my pace notes will add much to his driving whatsoever. So I will most likely just be there speaking for the sake of it for a lot of the time. But it will be a cool
Turn there.
experience to be there. Yeah, pretty much.
But is it like the co-driver has to prepare the pace notes himself, or do they do it together with the driver?
I don't even know how it works with Knockhill because it's a single venue event. It's not like a stage
Okay.
rally. So I don't even know how it even works. Are there pre-prescribed pace notes that we all just read? Is it more
Yeah.
just directional? I have no idea. And that's how prepared I am.
Would you ever like to drive the car yourself instead of being the co-driver?
It's something that's in talks at the minute. Towards the end of last year, I sat my bars exam, which allows you to gain your rally license in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And I did that primarily just for content. It was just something to do. And Matt Edwards, another rally driver who I was working with at the time, he his sort of like primary job is as a rally coach. So he was like, wouldn't this be cool if I taught you how to rally? We could sit your bars test and all of this sort of stuff. So we did that at the end of last year, which means I do have a license for 2025, and I've done absolutely nothing with it so far. So I feel as though I do need to use it. I do need to get something done, but it's just a bit daunting. Like,
Yeah.
not necessarily the driving, but more driving in front of spectators is what puts me off. Like, if there was a rally with no spectators, sign me up, I will do it. But it's the idea of people watching McRae on the side of a car that's going like 20 miles an hour.
No, that's impossible.
I'm like, it just wouldn't be great because I am a total beginner. I've done one driving day at Dirtfish, and I've done one day driving at a rally school in the UK when I did my bars test. And that's my only experience ever of driving a rally car. So I am like a complete total beginner. But because of my surname, I have this fear that people will expect me to get into a car and do something
Yeah.
marvelous. So it sort of put me off, but I need to get over it.
Yeah, but on a daily basis, you do drive a car.
Yeah, I do.
And what kind of driver are you? Do you have sort of moments when you're like, okay, now gear shift and let's go full throttle?
Do you know what? I wish it was more exciting, but I've driven an automatic car for the last like 7 years.
Yeah.
I don't even need to touch a gear stick. But I took my car actually to a hill climb event in England. Would it be like 2 months ago now, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first thing that I've done of that variety, where it's sort of like entry level motorsport. You do it in your own car, and it's all just sort of racing against yourself. And again, similar to my two experiences in a rally car, the first half hour or so, I was so nervous. I was like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
doing here? This is so embarrassing. What have we done? But then you get over that initial fear, and I had a really great day out. And by the time that things were wrapping up at the end of the day, I didn't want to stop. So it's clear that when I get into the swing of things, I do really enjoy it. I just need to push myself to get over that initial boundary.
Face your fears.
Yeah,
The
I need to be
same would
brave.
happen with the spectators, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure when you're in a rally car and you're so focused on the job at hand, you don't even notice the spectators there.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
But
going too fast to see them.
yeah, exactly. But for me, from the outside at the moment, that's something that really plays on my mind. So
Yeah,
I need to
I
do a bit
get
of
it.
positive self-talk and get over it.
Yeah. Would you ever imagine how your rally car would look like? Or even if not rally car, some kind of garment?
Well, at the moment, I do have my own race suit. So
Oh,
I don't have much to my name, but I do have my own race suit, which
nice.
was kindly gifted to me by some guys at GP Elite. They came out to Rally Legend 2 years ago, I think it was, and I had to borrow someone else's race suit to go in the car. That's when I went in the car with Jimmy. It was at Rally Legend. We went in bat at Rally Legend, and I had to borrow someone else's suit to do it. And they were like, "Do you not have your own race suit? That's criminal. You need to have your own race suit." And I was like, "I don't think I do. Like, I don't do any sort of racing." But they were determined that they were going to get me a race suit made, which was so kind. So we were back and forth about measurements and designs and what I wanted from my race suit. So it's black and white, very simple. It's got my McRae Media logo on it on the back.
Oh, nice.
And there's little bits of blue against like the white shoulder because I wanted it to look sort of like the Scottish flag. So I think that if it ever came to helmet or car livery, I would like to get some blue in there because I am a very patriotic Scot. And my car and my helmet would then match my existing suit.
I love that idea. Do you have anything prepared for the McRae Rally Challenge? Can you have your own helmet, or is it like
Do you know, it's being
predefined?
spoken about. People are like, you need to get your own helmet, you need to do it. But
Yeah.
again, it just feels silly when I know how little motorsport I've actually done. But it is true. If I'm going to go for it, I may as well go all in. All the gear and no
Full
idea
in,
what
yeah.
to say in Scotland. And that would be me, for sure.
Great. And before we get to the final, I wanted to do a little quick short session with you. Short question and quick answer.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go. So, are you a morning person or a night owl?
It's tricky, but I'd say I like a morning more than a nighttime if I can
Okay.
get myself out of bed.
Do you prefer summer or winter?
Winter, I think,
Oh, really?
purely because of skiing. I love to
Yeah.
ski, and if there's snow around, I'm team winter all day long.
Mm-hmm.
If
What's
it's
your
a
favorite
Scottish winter,
place to ski at?
if it's a Scottish winter and it's just rain, I will choose summer. But if there's opportunity for snow,
Yeah, I get that. Do you prefer, once traveling, and you said that's what excites you very much, do you prefer a city break or a tropical escape?
I think city break, the variety of a city break, I really enjoy.
Do you prefer a comedy or thriller?
Comedy.
Night out or a night in?
I think I'm getting to the age that I'm a night in person now. It's sad to admit, I used to be total night out gal, but the tides are turning. I'm now, I like a night in.
I can agree. It's the age. At some point, you just prefer to have a peaceful evening
Yeah.
without the next day's hangover and, laying in bed all the time.
I think as well because I now really love a morning. Like I love
Mm.
getting up early and just having just the day to yourself and it's still quite quiet outside and you don't get that if you do a night out. If you go on a night out, the morning is ruined. So I feel like I'm now prioritizing.
Especially if you go out on a Saturday evening and then there's Sunday whole taken out of your life and then
Yeah,
there's Monday immediately.
Sunday scaries. It's a terrible
Yeah.
thing.
Do you prefer dogs or cats?
Cats.
No,
I think
really.
I love both and I've had both for a lot of my life as pets, but I think I identify more with a cat.
Do you
And
have any animals right now?
not at the moment, no. We growing up on my house at home used to be a farm. So
Mm-hmm.
growing up, we always had animals around. But when I moved away from home and it was then just my mum's responsibility, and they were all getting older and dying, and she was like, I can't wait till there's no animals here so I can just go on holiday. And I was
Oh
like, Alison,
God.
that's a terrible thing to say. And unfortunately, our little dog had to get put down last summer, and she was our last
Oh.
animal. And my mum was already then looking at like where to buy pug puppies online. And I was like, Mum, you've wished every animal dead in this house. Please go and enjoy the summer without needing to worry about animals, and then we can think about it. So, yeah, if she did get another dog, I would absolutely love it. But I think at this point in my life right now, there's no way that I could have any animals. But if I were to have one, it would be a cat.
Yeah, I see. But you seem like such a, dog personality, golden retriever. I would 100% say you prefer dogs.
I love golden retrievers. I used to have two growing up, and they are
Yeah.
without a doubt top tier dog. So do you know what? That's when I'll know I've made it in life. Is when I have like a nice house, a chilled schedule, and I can have a golden retriever to take on walks all day. Like that would
Yeah,
be great.
same here. That's my ideal scenario as well.
Yeah, for sure. But for now, cats are much less high maintenance. They just do their
That's
own
true.
thing.
They
And
have their own world.
yeah, I love that. They're just independent little creatures.
Yeah. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, that's a big one. Um,
Take your time.
what would be, I want something that sort of encapsulates everything in life. Probably like, I don't know who said it. I'm pretty sure it was like a YouTuber or someone online back in the day used to always say, if you can dream it, you can do it. And I think that's something that is very important. And I probably carried it through a lot of my life in different forms in relation to different aspects of my life. And whenever I needed the encouragement at the time, I'd be like, do you know what? If you can dream it, you can do it. Because we are very lucky in the world that we live in that
Yeah.
there are so many possibilities out there. And if you have this sort of passion and the motivation and the determination to make it work, people will see the best in you and will want to help and support and follow along your journey too. And
Yeah.
I feel like I've noticed that, especially getting involved in motorsport as well, like everyone wants to see everyone else do well, which is really lovely. There's a really nice community around you.
Yeah.
So if you have an idea and you put in the work and you action it, there are going to be other people that come along and help you along the way.
Yeah, I agree completely. And that's also the power of manifestation we talked previously about. And it's really valid. Unfortunately, it didn't work with the cameras, but let's say these were not included in manifestation.
No, I'm very on board with manifestation and journaling, all of the sorts. I've
Yeah.
kept vision boards for years and I save them as my laptop back screen. And the amount of things that I put on those vision boards over the years that seemed so far fetched at the time, and in a matter of months, sometimes I was achieving things that I didn't even think would be possible. And it is like your mind is capable of so much, and
Yeah.
you are your biggest critic at times, but if you can get over that and start showing yourself the encouragement that you would show to others, then you are sort of obviously there's a lot of privilege at play that we can be in the position to make those things happen, but
Yeah.
you've got to also harness that. If you're in a position to do well for yourself and to get the most out of life, it's almost disrespectful to others that don't have the opportunity if you don't make the most of it.
Yeah.
So I've
You
got to
can
do
be your
that.
biggest critic, but also your biggest motivator, and that's
Yeah,
the point of it.
absolutely. We're capable of a lot when we set our minds to it. So
Yeah. Great. Thank you for this quick session. And now I wanted to get back on the track with last final and important question, the one I ask and plan to ask every guest on Clutch and Crown, because our podcast is about strength, determination, and wearing your crown with pride. So When does Hollie McRae feel like she's wearing her crown? What is the ultimate, queen moment for you? Is it while working on the special stages or during interviews or perhaps in a completely different private moment?
I would say my crown moment is when I am sort of out on an event, and I've had a couple like pinch me moments when I've been like, do you know what? Stop what you're doing right now, take it all in. This is
Mm-hmm.
your life. And often those moments come at a stage end or on the way to a stage end before it's actually kicked off, before all of the madness is underway. And I'm getting myself all set up in the middle of nowhere in the strangest parts of countrysides and countries that I'd never even visited a couple of years ago. And that sort of peaceful moment before everything kicks off, I
Mm-hmm.
really love. I've always been quite like an outdoorsy person. I love to be out in nature or at least close to it. I like to know that I have the option of being near trees and fresh air. And I'm really lucky in a sense that rallying allows you to do that while also being in such like a sort of exciting,
Mm.
vibrant sport. So I think there's one that really sticks in my mind was Royal Rally of Scandinavia last year, and I was stood in the middle of this Swedish forest, the most beautiful old trees around me. The sun was shining, just the sounds of nature. And I was like, this is what you get to call an office. Like, how cool
Right?
is that? And despite what I do in with social media and all of the interviewing, presenting, and coming across as a very sort of outward focused, extroverted, confident person, I would say that I am actually quite an introvert at times as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I like having quiet time, I like having my alone time. So when I get to have that out in nature, when I know that I'm about to do some really cool work in a field that I would never even imagined working in a couple of years ago, that's when I'm wearing my crown.
Love to hear that. And do you, at any times, being an introvert, as you say, do you get stressed while everything at your work gets you to be an extrovert? Like with the interviews?
Yeah, I'd say I do get quite sort of worked up and nervous, and I've now learned how to sort of flip that around. Like when I was at school, I was such a shy young girl, and I hated being the center of attention. I hated eyes on me. I hated having to read aloud in class and know that people were listening to me. If you asked me to stand up in front of a crowd of people and speak, I would have just burst into tears. Considering what I'm doing now compared to that, it's crazy. But I think the reason that I've been able to sort of make that change is switching nerves from being a negative emotion to a positive emotion.
Yeah.
Someone once told me, they were like, butterflies just prove that you care. And I think that's so important because everyone gets nervous. Like at different points in their life, at whatever their sort of triggers are, you do get nervous, you do get those butterflies. And for so many years of my life, I would use that as a sign to not do something and to stop and to sort of retreat back into myself. Whereas over the last couple of years, I've managed to turn it around. And when I get those butterflies, I'm like, okay, you're nervous because you care. You're nervous because you want to do a good job. You're nervous because you're sort of pushing your own boundaries. But those are all reasons to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think being able to turn sort of nerves into something that's positive has really been an important learning curve in my life. So there are still so many times, like most events, I would say, I at least have a moment or two that I'm like, oh God, what have I done? I feel really uneasy. I feel nervous about this. But I now see that as permission to do it anyway. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it all goes to plan. And if it doesn't, it's not that deep.
It's still life and it's the natural cycle of it. But I love that idea and that advice, and I'm sure I will implement it as well in my life because that's the beautiful definition of coming out of your comfort zone, which is basically the ritual you have to take up in adulthood.
Absolutely. There's another bit of best advice I've ever been given. It's a 2-for-1 special.
Yeah, Holly, thank you so much for this incredible, honest, and inspiring conversation. And I'm sure you've shown to all the listeners and to me as well that the greatest strength is being true to yourself. And the greatest victory is finding your own path. So, to all our listeners, be sure to follow Holly's journey and projects on the McRae Media channel, because I guarantee you it's some of the best rally content you will find.
Thank you.